In 1981, ketchup almost became an official vegetable in school lunches. That is not a joke. It was a serious proposal during one of the most controversial times for American cafeterias. Growing up in that era, I remember those cafeteria trays vividly. Pizza Fridays were the best, but some meals felt like a science experiment gone wrong. The 1980s were a time when school cafeterias became battlegrounds for debates about kids' nutrition. From vending machines stocked with soda to microwavable meals that were more convenient than fresh, these lunches were shaped as much by politics as they were by taste. Stay tuned until the end, because number 1 might change the way you think about those cafeteria classics forever. Number 8. Pizza Fridays and student favorites. One of the highlights of school lunches in the 1980s was Pizza Fridays. Amid a week of often repetitive and uninspiring menus, Fridays brought a sense of excitement with those iconic rectangular pizza slices, covered in a layer of processed cheese and served with a side of tater tots. This meal became a much-loved tradition for students. It was simple, a bit greasy, and absolutely unforgettable. Other popular items also left a mark, like Sloppy Joes with their sweet and tangy sauce piled onto soft buns, or trays of crispy tater tots that were perfect for dipping in ketchup. Even though these foods were not fancy, they were the kind of meals that kids actually look forward to. Number 7. The influence of the National School Lunch Program. The National School Lunch Program began in 1946 with a mission to fight malnutrition and food insecurity among school children across America. It was created after World War II, when studies revealed that many young men were too malnourished to serve in the military. By the 1980s, this program was still going strong, but federal funding and the reliance on USDA surplus foods heavily influenced the meals served in schools. Trays often were government-provided staples like cheese blocks, canned vegetables, and powdered milk. While these meals met basic nutritional needs, they were not always the most exciting. For many students, lunch felt repetitive. Meatloaf, peas, and milk seemed to be on a constant loop. Personally, I think it is incredible that this program helps so many kids get a hot meal each day, but it also reminds me of the days when I wished for something more flavorful and fresh. The system worked, but it had its limitations. Number 6. The ketchup as a vegetable controversy. In 1981, a controversial proposal by the Reagan administration suggested that ketchup and pickle relish count as vegetable servings in school lunches. This idea came as part of an effort to cut federal funding for lunch programs, but it quickly drew public backlash. Parents and health advocates criticized it as a stark example of how budget cuts were undermining children's nutrition. The uproar over this policy became a national headline, symbolizing the struggles schools face to provide healthy meals under financial constraints. Although the proposal was eventually dropped, it remains a striking example of how politics directly impacts the food served to students. For me, this controversy highlights the importance of prioritizing children's health. It is unsettling to think such measures were even considered, showing how vital it is to advocate for proper nutrition in schools. Number 5. The rise of chicken nuggets and burgers. Another beloved cafeteria item in the 1980s was the introduction of chicken nuggets and burgers. These items were easy to serve, kid-friendly, and cost-effective for schools. Chicken nuggets with their crispy coating and tender interior were often paired with a small cup of barbecue sauce or ketchup for dipping. Burgers, on the other hand, came as simple patties on buns, sometimes accompanied by a slice of processed cheese. These meals quickly became staples, striking a balance between convenience and appeal. Though not always the healthiest, they reflected the growing preference for fast food-style meals in school cafeterias. Their popularity endures, showcasing the lasting impact of these convenient and tasty options. Number 4. The emergence of soda machines and junk food. The 1980s saw the rise of vending machines in schools, stocked with sodas, candy bars, and salty snacks. These machines became a quick and convenient option for students, but their presence in schools was not just about convenience. Many schools installed them as a way to generate much-needed revenue, using the funds to support programs and cover budget shortfalls. While this seemed like a practical solution at the time, it had some significant downsides. The easy access to sugary sodas and processed snacks led to an increase in poor dietary choices among students. These vending machines often overshadowed healthier options in the cafeteria, making it harder for kids to develop balanced eating habits. Number 3. Cafeteria aesthetics and social dynamics. School cafeterias were designed for more function than flair. Long rows of tables stretched out in straight lines, accommodating many students at once. They were simple setups, serving as places where lunchtime was just as much about social interaction as it was about eating. This layout often became a microcosm of the school's social dynamics, cliques, friendships, and even the occasional rivalries. For some, lunch was a chance to bond with friends or make new connections. For others, it was a time of navigating social hierarchies and peer pressure. The cafeteria could be a place of joy, but it was also where students confronted the reality of their place in the school's social structure. This dual nature of the school lunch experience made it a significant part of the school day, one that was both cherished and stressful, depending on how well the students fit in. Reflecting on it now, I can see how these dynamics shaped my school experience. It's a reminder of how complex school life was in the 1980s, where even lunchtime held a mix of joy and anxiety. Number 2. Rising concerns about nutrition. In the 1980s, there was a growing awareness among parents and health experts about the nutritional content of school lunches. Studies at the time pointed out that many of these meals were high in sodium, fat, and sugar, which wasn't ideal for children's health. This sparked debates about the need to improve the standards of what was being served in schools. There was a real concern that these lunches were not only unexciting, but also potentially unhealthy. These concerns were not just about taste, they were about the bigger picture of children's well-being. Many started questioning whether these meals provided the essential nutrients needed for growth and energy. This period was really the beginning of a shift toward more mindful school food policies, laying the groundwork for reforms that came in the 90s and beyond. Looking back, it's clear that this was an important time for school lunch programs, prompting a push for better food quality and healthier choices for kids. Number 1. The impact of budget cuts. Federal budget cuts in the early 1980s had a significant impact on school lunch programs. With reduced funding, schools had to do more with less. This often meant they had to make tough choices, leading to lower quality ingredients and fewer meal options. Schools had to be creative, finding ways to stretch their budgets to provide any meals at all. The cuts forced many institutions to rely more heavily on government funding, which exposed the vulnerabilities of these programs. These budget constraints were a real test for school administrators and cafeteria staff. They had to find ways to keep meals affordable and still nutritious. It wasn't easy. This era really showcased how essential government support was for school lunch programs. Without it, maintaining meal standards and variety became a struggle. It's clear that these challenges were a pivotal moment in school food history, prompting calls for more sustainable and reliable funding solutions. From frozen nuggets to government cheese, school lunches in the 80s were anything but boring. Which of these untold truths do you think still affects how we see school food today? Let me know in the comments. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And tell me, what should I cover next? I'm always open to your ideas.